There's no fucking bum ass this fucking bum ass. Okay, 1 second. I'll say what to do with the bum ass. Here's what to do. So bum ass like this always try to pull their Glock out from long range. He's gotta wait for the Glock.
Content creator by the name of After School Sophie, toward the back end of 2024, had a stream where she was just rapid fire spewing out multiple hate speech terms. The N-word, hate speech term toward Hispanic people. I believe she used the F-word as well toward gay people and things along those lines. Now, to provide a little bit of context, there were individuals in her chat, in their chat anyways, that were sending her lyrics with these hate speech terms in it and things along those lines. So this content creator, reason why I'm talking about this is because she very recently was on a stream with another content creator by the name of Mike Hollow. They had a very long discussion. I think this was over 6 hours. There were plenty of individuals that came in. Some people forgave her. Some people were like, well, you messed around and you found out. And they thought that she wasn't truly sorry for what she did. Now, this content creator, After School Sophie, did make it very clear multiple times throughout this 6-hour stream that they were aware that saying these things were going to offend some people, but they were not aware of how many people were going to be offended by it. Due to this taking place, she has been banned from certain tournaments and she has lost out on a pretty noticeable amount of revenue, to say the least. So she's dealing with the backlash from these actions that have taken place. And I don't know how often this content creator has done these things. So this is essentially a multi-layer problem, and there's multiple reasons why these kind of situations continue to happen. And I want to basically very briefly comment on it and give my 2 cents on why this happens and why it's going to continue to happen. All right. The biggest root of this ongoing problem has been the Western Black community in themselves. They claim that whenever they use the N-word, it is a term of endearment. Now, while this does have some relevancy of truth on a individual basis, the problem is this argument very quickly falls apart when the scope is expanded out. The fact of the matter is that Black people, even amongst themselves, have used the N-word. I don't care if it's the A version or the ER version, in hateful context toward each other. This has been happening for decades. Let me give you a musical based example. If, for example, a rapper says, I will kill an N-word, what endearment is there in that? If there are two Black people and they are in a heated engagement to where they're about to throw hands and they're throwing out the N-word at each other, a lot of the times this is filled with malice and with hatred. I don't want to hear any excuses from any Black people in the Western part of the world saying that this is a term of endearment. Because again, while this might be true on a individual case basis, on a wider scope, it has been a blatant lie. Even Black people use the N-word in hateful context toward each other all the time when the scope is expanded out. It's just that simple. What also does not help is when there are Black people in the Western part of the world who give the quote unquote N-word pass. The reality is that not all Western Black people think alike. Some Black people are going to have a problem with the word, some people won't. And a lot of this is going to come down to how a person was raised, brought up, their own experiences, and the experiences of their peers around them. I do want to put this out here as a point of clarity. There are still people in the US alive to this day that have lived through segregation, all right? And they are still alive to this very day. While yes, there is less discrimination now than what there was, say, 50 plus years ago, it is still very normal depending on where you live at in the Western part of the world. On a technical level, anyone can say anything that they want at any given point in time, at least in the Western part of the world. However, they also need to be prepared to deal with the consequences of anything that they say or do. Some people will make the argument that words don't matter, which this is also a blatant lie. There are words in the English dictionary that are there to evoke positive or negative emotion. We have words as a way to communicate our feelings and our thoughts with other human beings. So this whole narrative of how words don't have any power and they don't mean anything is a blatant lie. With that being said, actions do speak louder than words. For example, if somebody says, I love you, but then they don't spend any time with you, they don't ever check up on you, they're never around you. When you really need help and you're really down on your luck, I'm talking about you're just deathly sick, for example, and you need help, they're never around, even though they don't live that far away, then yes, the actions speak louder than words in that kind of an example. A huge contribution to this ongoing problem is obviously the internet in itself. The internet has given this illusion of ambiguity, or at least, hey, I'm on the internet, I'm shielded and protected protected. My identity is safe for the most part. So therefore I can say and do things that I wouldn't normally do on a normal day-to-day basis, which isn't entirely true. If somebody really wants to take out the time to find out your details, they probably would be able to do it. Even if you might have a VPN, sure, you might make things a little bit more difficult, but it's not like VPNs are 100% secure either. So let me give you an example. Back in the day, whenever there were content creators who would film pranks, I think for the most part, they were done to be wholesome or to be really nice. You know, they were actually kind of silly and funny. But as time went on, the pranks became more and more mean-spirited. And now in the modern era, even though yes, there are certain content creators who still do wholesome pranks, it has become a norm for certain content creators and their quote unquote pranks to just be pure evil. Rather, they're literally harassing people, physical assault, or breaking the law. And then they want to pull back and just be like, it was just a prank, bro. And the reason why they're doing this is just to get some type of attention, because we live in this era now to where individuals think that they have to do the most off the wall extreme things just to get some type of attention. And while yes, they may have a short-term boost in growth, views, revenue, and things like that, it's not worth doing it on a long-term basis when everything ends up tending to fall apart. I personally prefer a slow and steady route to growth and doing things in a productive, positive manner instead of going out and doing something pretty bad that could ruin my future. But of course, to each their own. And so as far as the streamer side example goes, there is a person by the name of Johnny Somali as an example. And what he's done, he's gone to numerous countries, literally harassed people, and has literally broken the law. And currently he's being held in South Korea for doing very similar things. He is potentially going to be facing decades in prison. So this is just one example, and there will be plenty of other examples like Johnny Somali in the future. It's unfortunate, but this is the internet culture that we're currently in. This doesn't apply to everybody, but this has just become so normalized at this point. Unfortunately, because the usage of the N-word amongst blacks has become so normalized, it's so ingrained into Western black culture and day-to-day interactions that this is something that will continue to exist for generations past my own death. It existed as a problem before my birth. It will continue to be a problem after I die. This is the unfortunate situation that is at hand. My final point that I'll make on this aspect is the Western black community have this mentality that you can take something bad and turn it into something good, which again, blatant lie. There are certain things that happen or exist and there's nothing good to take out of it. Take the Holocaust, for example. There is nothing good that can be taken out of the Holocaust. Yes, there were certain survivors of the Holocaust. They were able to write novels, books about their experience, documenting what had happened. But at the end of the day, it was still a horrific event, point blank, simple. It's no different with the N-word. My personal POV when it comes to the usage of the N-word, even if it's amongst black to black interaction, is trying to take the world's nastiest cake and you try to put the world's best icing on it. Whenever you bite into that cake, it is still going to be the same nasty cake. No amount of icing is going to help it. There is nothing good that comes out of the usage of the N-word. It doesn't matter if it's the A version or the ER version. Nothing good has came out of it, and this is why the Western black community is in mental shackles over this word. Now, if individuals want to claim so much power, then my personal suggestion would be for Western black people to refer to themselves as kings or queens. With that being said, they can't just sit here and say, I'm a king or a queen, and then not behave in a way that makes them qualified to be a king or a queen. That's just my personal POV on this. At the end of the day, I'm not for sure what the Western black community was expecting. These kind of situations will continue to happen. If you have taken out the time to watch this or listen to this, I just want to say thank you so much for your time. You be safe out there. Deuces.